In this video, we are talking about safety at construction or manufacturing sites, and the topic includes heights, machinery, manual handling, slips, trips and falls, and vehicle movement.
Heights. Preventing falls from height is a priority for WorkSafe, and it expects that work at height is actively managed so that people are not harmed. Research shows that more than 50% of falls are from less than 3 metres, and approximately 70% of falls are from ladders and roofs. The cost of these falls is estimated to be $24 million a year, to say nothing of the human cost as a result of these falls. More injuries happen on residential building sites than in any other workplace in the construction sector. Factors that prevent injuries when working at height include adequate planning and hazard assessment, sufficient supervision, appropriate training for the task being carried out, correct protection or equipment choices, a willingness to change the way that you work when a safer alternative is identified, correct use or setup of equipment, including PPE, and suitable equipment needs to be available. WorkSafe's best practice guidelines for working at height in New Zealand provide info on assessing the hazards of working at height and the control methods for preventing falls. There are a number of topics including planning a safe approach, selecting the right equipment, edge protection, total restraint systems, elevating work platforms, scaffolding, safety nets, and working safely on roofs. Machinery. Manufacturing in New Zealand can use many types of machinery. Machinery can injure people by crushing, cutting, shearing, puncturing, abrading, burning, tearing, and stretching. Common injuries from machinery can include amputation, crushing, electric shock, hearing loss, and ill health from hazardous chemicals or lack of oxygen. Some of the trends that can lead to injuries are no guarding on machines at all, or openings in guards so that users can reach into the machine. Guards not securely fastened and easily removed while the machine is in use. Ineffective lockout and isolation of power systems. Users can take off guards for ease of workflow and not replace them. To prevent many of these injuries occurring, training and supervision of machine operators is extremely important. The person in control of your workplace needs to ensure that you or other operators have had training on the actual and potential hazards of the machine, all the precautions to be taken, and unless the machine operator can operate the machine safely, they must be closely supervised by someone with the correct skills. When training people to use machinery, a trainer must explain how to check and adjust the machine before starting it, how to stop and start the machine, how the machine works, what the machine does, the location and operation of other controls, actual and potential hazards and appropriate ways to control them, the purpose of guards and other safety devices, the correct use and adjustment of guards, correct work methods to be used, how to recognise faults that could cause harm, and the limitations and capabilities of the machine emergency procedures. If you have concerns about your own or another operator's competency on a machine, raise this with your health and safety rep, direct supervisor or manager, or someone further up so that you are all able to work safely. For more info, go to WorkSafe's website. Manual handling. Construction and manufacturing in New Zealand can use manual handling techniques for a variety of products. Lifting, carrying, pushing or pulling heavy loads can put workers at risk of serious injury, which can occur when a load is too heavy, it's difficult to grip, or it's too large, or when you are required to bend and twist when handling heavy loads, or when you need to reach for items above shoulder height. Injuries and other conditions from lifting incorrectly can include muscle sprains and strains, injuries to muscles, ligaments and your back, injuries to soft tissues such as nerves, ligaments and tendons in the wrists, arms, shoulders, neck or legs, abdominal hernias, and chronic pain. Some of these conditions are known as repetitive strain injury or occupational overuse syndrome. What can you do to prevent injuries to yourself? Use appropriate mechanical aids such as a pallet jack and ensure they are used properly. Use shelving and racking in storage areas that are at accessible heights. Ask for stock to come in smaller containers that are easier to store and lift. If your work is repetitive for long periods, or it's work that requires a significant amount of high force, try to do rotations with other workers. Ask to be trained on safe handling methods. For more info, go to WorkSafe's website. Slips, trips and falls. Clutter on the ground, uneven or slippery floor surfaces, poor lighting or lack of signage all contribute to thousands of workers getting injured every year. Slips, trips and falls are one of the most common cause of injuries for workers, and they can happen in a number of ways, including unmarked changes in floor levels, slipping on a wet floor, obstructed views when carrying large items, causing possible trips on mats, cables, boxes or bags, damaged flooring, not using handrails on staircases, cramped conditions, poor workflow, standing on unstable furniture, and poor lighting. There are many ways to minimise slips, trips and fall risks to yourself, such as keep your work and storage areas tidy, use a pallet jack for loads that would block your view if you carried them, ensure you wear appropriate footwear with good grip, use cordless tools where possible. If you need to use cables for temporary lighting or power tools, run the cables at a higher level. Some examples of how site managers can minimise slips, trips and falls are: ensure designated walkways are provided with good conditions underfoot, that they are signposted and adequately lit, plan deliveries to minimise the amount of materials on site, have designated areas for waste collection and provide skips and bins, treat slippery surfaces with stone or grit depending on the conditions. Consider using a ramp for any changes in level, but if this isn't possible, use signs to warn workers. For more info, go to WorkSafe's website. Vehicle movements. Moving vehicles and machinery at sites are risky, but a good traffic management plan keeps everyone safer. Workers and others could be harmed during vehicle movements by being trapped between a vehicle and a structure, vehicles colliding with each other or a structure, being hit by a vehicle, items that fall off vehicles like unsecured or unstable loads, or falling from a vehicle. Other aspects to consider regarding moving vehicles include drivers, operators or pedestrians who are affected by drugs, alcohol, fatigue or medical events, for example a heart attack. Environmental conditions like slippery or unstable ground, low light, fog. Mechanical failures such as faulty steering or bad brakes. Driver distractions such as mobiles, noise, work and home pressures. Vehicles operated outside their limits or capabilities, such as the wrong vehicle for the job. And anything that might block the driver's view. There are many ways to minimise vehicle movement risks to yourself, such as ensure you have competency for what you operate. Try to avoid long hours at work that can cause fatigue. Wear high-vis clothing. Use reversing warning devices and hazard lights. Use spotters. Follow any one-way systems that are in place. Follow warning signs on the site. Stick to the speed limit. Ask what the procedures for the site are and follow them. Stay in any designated safe zones while loading or unloading occurs. Ask to walk the route so you can plan for operations on new sites. Some examples of how site owners can minimise risks of injuries or fatalities from vehicle movements are: isolate vehicles and plant from people, provide adequate lighting on site for good visibility, more parking areas separate to delivery areas where possible, manage the work hours and duration for workers to minimise fatigue, time deliveries for quiet times of the day to reduce the number of people who are likely to be near the vehicle being unloaded, have procedures for drivers to your site, for example arrival and reception processes, and designated safe zones for drivers to stand. You need to select the most effective controls that are proportionate to the risk and appropriate to your work situation. If you need more info, go to WorkSafe's website.